This is my 16.2 coaching techniques. There are stages of learning: autonomous, associative, and cognitive. Autonomous would be, for example, at a professional level like Andy Murray. He's very experienced and very practiced, which means that he is an autonomous learner because he responding to situations and playing the game is just automatic, and he doesn't have to think about it. He can just do it because he's so practiced. Associative is making links between situations and how you need to respond, meaning that you still need to be thinking about what you need to do and how to do things um, and how to respond to situations. Cognitive is a very beginner's level, which is when you're just learning how to perform a skill, which is a very difficult challenge. And it means that you have to be thinking about everything you do, and it will mean that you make many errors whilst you're learning. Um, the demonstration technique is where the coach physically demonstrates how to perform or practice a certain action or drill in a sport by giving the athlete a mental picture. In some sports, such as badminton, another person might be needed to demonstrate, such like when performing the smash in badminton, the other people must have some knowledge and instruction to be able to demonstrate the drill with the coach. In the smash example, the coach would tell the other person where to feed the shuttlecock in order for the coach to be able to smash it. The demonstration goes hand in hand with technical instruction for the athletes to be able to fully understand and able to perform the activity quickly. But without it, it's harder to demonstrate. But it's just important to break it into parts and perform it slowly. The time it takes to demonstrate entirely depends on how quick the athlete understands the concepts or how well demonstrated the activity was shown. When demonstrating, it is important to develop motivation, confidence, and the right attitude, and this can be done by setting a target to achieve or making competition between individuals or teams. Linking to the badminton smash example, after demonstrating, the coach could make targets by saying each team has to get 10 smashes, and when finished, raise your hand or sit down. Then the coach could make competition by sending teams off and say the first two hit 20 smashes wins. The coach doesn't have to be competent in every activity, but if the coach was running a drill for an elite team, then the coach would therefore have to be competent. But if it was just a group of younger kids, then it doesn't matter as much, and the coach wouldn't have to be as competent. Um, Demonstrating to an individual is better, as you can walk through the activity with them, or for example, in the badminton smash example, you can get them to feed and rally with the demonstrator to help them pick it up and learn it quicker, and so then the individual is more involved and um, will find it easier to learn that way and can question at any time. Also, when demonstrating to an individual, it makes it easier because you can just ask questions and like they can make sure that every detail is understood and developed. Demonstrating for team sports can also be implemented so that everyone in the team understands. The coach can offer to demonstrate more than once so everyone in the group can get it. They can also say that when demonstrating, look at how I bend my elbow and at what degree I have it at to make sure that everyone pays attention to each detail when repeated. The advantages of demonstrations is that giving the participants a mental image of the head which they try to replicate when they try to put the drill into practice. Another advantage is that if they are in a specific part of the drill, someone doesn't understand the footwork in the badminton smash, and the coach can demonstrate that specific bit and tell them to watch the footwork at certain points in the drill, such as when approaching the shot, hitting the shot, and then landing. A disadvantage of demonstration is that it needs technical instruction as they go hand in hand. Demonstration cannot always just be shown without talking before or whilst you're doing the drill as it commences. Also, the demonstration can be harder in team sports because you might have to adapt for individual needs, which excludes certain people. Lastly, depending on the level or the ability of the participants, a coach may need to be very competent in order to deliver the right concepts in the right way and able to answer all questions about the concepts the coach is trying to demonstrate. Technical instruction is where a coach explains a drill or actively verbally or the drill or activity verbally without physical actions. This means that the players would have to understand keywords, which makes it hard for the cognitive stage of learning. For technical instruction to work, the player must have some ability in order to understand the technical language, or at least have knowledge of the sport. For example, in basketball, when trying to teach how to dunk, participants might not recognize the term or have the ability to do it, which shows that the technical instruction functions better for a higher level of sport. Some participants might like this approach, but others may not because they don't understand, meaning they lose confidence, others may or perhaps others may gain motivation from trying to overcome the difficulty of learning. For technical instruction, coaches need a lot of competence because they need to use a technical language in order to get the message across so people don't have too much to remember and forget parts of the drill, so everything is clear and concise. This technique of coaching delays the amount of time until the player actually starts to drill because it can take a while to explain. If people do not understand, but then the actual technique itself is instantaneous, as all you do is to begin talking. Technical instruction can be good for individual sports as a coach can explain what they're doing wrong or the things they need to improve as they are practicing. And for team, not everyone in the team might find it hard or find it tedious, so they begin to lose concentration. And if people don't understand, they can watch the participants who go before them. So that's more applied to the cognitive learners when they don't understand because they don't understand the language or whatever the reason may be. They can see the autonomous learners and see how they perform it. Um, the advantages um, of technical instruction is that when using short phrases, it's easier for the cognitive and associative learners to learn what they have to do. But whilst doing it, they must be clear and concise. And it's very important the session needs to be planned ahead and thought about before actually implementing it, as it's quite a difficult way of coaching unless you have people there who know exactly what they're doing. The disadvantage, which is also a disadvantage, but another one would be that it needs demonstration to work effectively, so everyone understands and can deliver properly. And sometimes the language can be too advanced, and the coach must continuously check if the learners understand it, as he's unable to demonstrate. Observational analysis is a statistical representation of an athlete's performance and shows a weakness and areas of improvement by using technology or pen and paper. For this coaching technique, the player would usually have a higher level in their sport and be keen for it to be worth spending money. Alternatively, if the player didn't have a level, then the coach can record such a shot, how many shots scored, or how many shots scored of how many shot on a paper. This technique is objective, which no player can argue against unless they have a proper valid reason with their performance. If the coach sees an area the player needs to improve on which the player disagrees with, then the objective evidence can help the player realise when they need to improve. Also, the objective evidence can help the coach create smart targets based on the athlete's data. They can look at the area of weakness and try to make a training session specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-based. For example, if in a training session or game they made 2 out of 10 3-point jump shots, you can measure it by a pen and paper or a paid application or equipment and get the athlete to shoot 10 jump shots every day from 5 different spots and try to achieve 5 consistently or more if they can, or 5 consistently. Then after 2 weeks to try and hitting 7 out of 10 jump shots consistently, and if they can shoot more, then great. For this technique, the coach doesn't have to be very competent, as you only have to record the data. But when making the smart targets, the coach then would have to have knowledge of the sport because, for example, and experience. And because in basketball, shooting 40% from 3-point range in a game over a season is very good. But to someone who doesn't have knowledge of the game, we think it's a low percentage and terrible. So the smart targets created might be unreachable and very unrealistic. This technique is excellent for individuals as a one-on-one allows for the participants to get the full attention of the coach and the objective approach. For team sports, this evidence can still be used, but becomes more of a challenge as there are more players. So game footage can be used in the same way. Also, when reaching a high level, specific programs can be used to calculate percentages of each individual in the team and the overall team's percentage of each part of the game. The advantages of this is it's because the evidence is objective. It's a lot harder to argue against because unless the only thing they could come up with is injuries to as an excuse, but it just shows really and helps the player have a realization if they think they're very good. It's great for high level individual and team sports because the people who are keen will go and see these stats and see these percentages and go and work on their game. It's comparable against normative or elite averages. So when comparing your 3-point percentages against someone who is a similar level as you, or someone perhaps who is a lot better than you can compare your percentages and see what you need to be aiming for. The evidence is tangible and numerical for the video, and it helps the players improve weaknesses. The disadvantage is it can be costly, as you either need to pay people to do it for a team sport in a high level, or you need to pay for the application or the software. It can be very time consuming, especially when you're not that competent with the software, and requires requires to operate a lot of competence to operate the expensive software.